All right. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep on project organization and leadership.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. And we've got some interesting sources lined up, too. Academic stuff, different leadership theories, real-world examples, even some insights from, get this, NASA. Yep,
NASA.
NASA. But first, we're going to start with something a little closer to home.
Okay.
Your own college experiences, specifically those group projects.
Oh, I remember those late nights, stress.
Exactly. And maybe even a few conflicts along the way.
Definitely a few conflicts.
So think back to a particularly rough group project. What were three major problems that you ran into, and what caused them?
Three problems. That's a good question. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are thinking back to some memorable projects right now.
Right. It's like a live case study. And guess what? One of our sources, a university lecture on project management, actually asks students to do the same thing, analyze those group project problems.
Interesting. So what's the lecture say about those problems?
Well, it highlights three key skills that can help manage projects and avoid those issues. Communication, planning, and conflict resolution.
Ah, the classic trio. Those make sense.
Right. Communication and planning seem pretty straightforward, but conflict resolution.
Yeah, that one can be tricky.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got those group project dynamics going on.
Totally. I remember one project where disagreements over, like, who was doing what almost tanked the whole thing. It was constant firefighting.
Wow. Sounds stressful.
It was. But it's interesting how those little project dramas actually mirror what happens in larger, more complex projects, too.
Right, because in any project, effective conflict resolution can really make or break the whole thing. And those skills, you often start developing them in those early group experiences, even if they are a bit chaotic.
It's true. So we're seeing a link already between those late-night study sessions and the core principles of, like, managing million-dollar projects.
Absolutely. It all connects. Now, to get a bit more technical,
Yeah.
let's talk about organizational structures. Specifically, something called the organizational matrix.
Okay. Organizational matrix.
Picture a grid.
Like a spreadsheet, rows and columns.
Exactly. Each axis of that grid represents a different dimension of the organization. One axis is the traditional functional departments. Think marketing, finance, engineering. The other axis, those are the projects themselves, which often cut across those departments.
Ah, I see. So you have people with specialized skills and priorities, but then they also need to work across departments on these different projects.
Precisely. And that's where the organizational matrix comes in. It's a framework for how project managers navigate all these relationships and responsibilities.
So they're working at the intersection of those two axes.
Exactly. They're coordinating with different departments, making sure everyone's aligned on project goals. It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah, sounds like a balancing act for sure. So who has the final say? The functional department head or the project manager?
That's the million-dollar question. And it highlights this constant tension in project management. There's a push and pull between the project manager, who's focused on delivering the project on time and within budget, and the functional managers, who are responsible for their own teams and day-to-day operations.
Right, because the project manager needs resources and expertise from those different departments.
Yep.
But those departments have their own priorities and deadlines to worry about, too.
Exactly. It can lead to some, shall we say, interesting power dynamics.
Speaking of power, our source material actually dives into the different types of power that leaders use. They identify 6 sources of power.
6 sources, that's a lot to unpack.
It is. But understanding them is super important for effective leadership.
Okay, let's hear them.
Well, we can start with the more like positional types of power. First, you have legitimate power. That's basically the authority that comes from your position in the hierarchy, your job title.
So the power to give orders just because of your job description.
Got it. Right. Then there's reward power. The ability to give incentives, bonuses, promotions, even just praise.
The classic carrot approach.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the flip side. Coercive power. The ability to punish undesirable behavior.
Ah, the stick. Carrot and stick. Classic. What about the other 3 sources of power?
Those are more personal, based on your individual qualities and expertise.
Oh, interesting.
Like expert power, that comes from your knowledge and skills. If you're seen as the go-to person in a certain field, you have that expert power.
People trust those who really know their stuff. I've definitely seen that.
Then you have information power. It's about controlling and sharing valuable information.
So someone who has access to important data that others need.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right?
Right.
And then the last one is referent power. This one stems from respect, admiration, even likability. People follow those they admire.
So it's not just about your title or your technical skills. It's also about your character and how you connect with people.
Exactly. And it's here that we see a clear distinction between authority and leadership. Authority is about your position, but leadership, that's about influence. It's earned.
Makes you think about those bosses who have all the authority but none of the leadership qualities.
Oh, totally. I had a boss like that once. She had the title, but no one respected her because she lacked those personal sources of power. It made for a pretty toxic work environment. It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Are there situations where, like, a more collaborative leadership style is actually better?
That's a great question. And it brings us to our next topic, leadership theories. Because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to leadership. Different situations call for different styles.
I like that. So what are some of those theories? Give us the highlights.
Well, we can start with trait studies. These were early attempts to identify specific personality traits that made a good leader.
So, like, are there certain traits that guarantee success? Charisma, decisiveness, that sort of thing.
That was the hope, but it turns out leadership is way more complex than just a checklist of traits.
So the focus shifted from who leaders are to what they do.
Exactly. And that led to behavioral approaches, which looked at observable leadership behaviors.
Okay, so like, what are some examples of those different leadership styles?
Well, one classic contrast is between authoritarian and democratic leadership. An authoritarian leader is very directive, giving orders and expecting obedience. A democratic leader, on the other hand, is more collaborative. They seek input from the team and encourage participation in decision-making.
Okay, so it's not just about personality. It's about how leaders interact with their teams and make decisions. And I'm guessing the best style probably depends on the situation.
You got it. And that's what contingency theory argues. The ideal leadership style depends on the context.
Makes sense.
And one of the key figures in this area is Fred Fiedler. His research explored how different leadership styles interact with various situational factors.
Okay, so what kind of situational factors are we talking about here?
Well, his research suggests that when a situation is either very favorable, the leader has strong team relationships, the task is clear, they have lots of authority, or the opposite, very unfavorable, a task-oriented directive leadership style is often more effective.
So if things are running smoothly, or if there's a crisis, you need a leader who can just take charge and give clear directions.
Right. But when things are more ambiguous, more uncertain or complex, then a more relationship-oriented, collaborative style is often better.
It's all about reading the room and adapting, huh?
Exactly. No magic formula. You have to understand the nuances of each situation.
Makes sense. Do we have any real-world examples of companies that have applied these principles successfully?
We do. Our source material highlights a fascinating case study, Honda's lean design approach.
Honda, the car company.
The one and only.
What can they teach us about project management?
A lot, actually. Honda's lean design is a great example of successful project organization and leadership in action.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are the key elements of their approach?
Well, 4 things stand out. Strong leadership, effective teamwork, open communication, and a focus on simultaneous development.
Okay, strong leadership, teamwork, communication. Those are familiar themes. But simultaneous development, that's a new one.
It means that instead of working in a linear step-by-step way, they develop different parts of a product and the production process all at the same time.
Oh, interesting. So breaking down those silos, encouraging collaboration across departments from the get-go.
Exactly. And this approach has helped Honda be incredibly efficient and innovative. They're not just building cars, they're building a culture of collaboration and continuous improvement.
They're embracing that complexity rather than trying to oversimplify things.
Exactly. And speaking of embracing complexity, get this, we're getting advice from NASA.
Oh, I love this. Lay some space-age wisdom on us.
Get ready, because our source material reveals 8 essential traits, or maybe we should call them secrets, of a good project manager, straight from the space program.
8 secrets from NASA. Okay, I'm all ears.
Number 1, effective communication. Number 2, systems thinking. Number 3, personal integrity. Proactiveness, high emotional intelligence, general business perspective.
Wow, this is quite a list.
We're not done yet.
Yep.
Effective time management and optimism.
Wow, they really cover all the bases, huh? And this isn't just for rocket scientists, is it?
Nope. These skills are valuable for any leadership role in any field.
Out of that whole list, what jumps out at you?
That's a tough one. There's so much good stuff there. But I think communication, systems thinking, and emotional intelligence really stand out to me. Those 3 are so interconnected and essential for effective leadership no matter what you're doing.
Okay, let's unpack those a little. We've talked about communication already, but why is it so vital in project management, especially from NASA's perspective?
Well, think about the complexity of a space mission. You have so many moving parts, highly specialized individuals, and the stakes are incredibly high. Even a tiny miscommunication could be disastrous.
I remember reading about a Mars mission that crashed because of a simple unit conversion error.
Exactly. Clear, concise communication is vital for making sure everyone is on the same page and working towards the same goal.
And it's not just about transmitting information, right? It's about listening, understanding different viewpoints, building that trust within the team.
Absolutely, especially in those high-pressure environments. Okay, next up, systems thinking.
Okay, systems thinking, what's that all about?
It's the ability to see the big picture, to understand how different parts of a system interact and influence each other. In project management, that means recognizing that a project isn't just a bunch of separate tasks. It's a complex system with interconnected dependencies.
So you need to be able to see how everything fits together, right? And how changes in one area might ripple out and affect other areas.
Exactly. A project manager who can think in systems can anticipate potential problems, identify bottlenecks, and make smarter decisions. What are your thoughts on systems thinking?
You know, that really resonates with me because I often get so caught up in the details of a project that I lose sight of the bigger picture. It's like focusing on the trees and missing the whole forest.
I think we've all been there.
I'm definitely going to try applying that systems thinking approach to my next project.
That's a great goal. Okay, on to our final secret from NASA. Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, or EQ. Why is that so important, even at NASA?
Well, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others.
So it's not just about being a technical expert, it's about being human, understanding people, building relationships.
Exactly. And remember, project managers often work under a ton of pressure, tight deadlines, complex challenges. Emotional intelligence helps them stay calm under pressure, motivate their teams, and navigate those tricky conflicts effectively.
Sounds like it's crucial for building a strong, resilient team.
Absolutely. Especially in a high-stress environment like NASA. Speaking of NASA.
Yeah.
Our source material actually mentions a video they put together that highlights their approach to project management.
Ooh, I'd love to hear more about that. What are some of the key takeaways?
The video emphasizes the importance of building a strong team, leading the way, making tough decisions, improving processes, and being open to great ideas. It really showcases the human element of project management. It's not just about the tech, it's about the people.
They've really cracked the code for successful project management, haven't they?
It seems like it.
And it comes down to fostering that culture of collaboration, innovation, and human connection.
Well said. And what's cool is these principles, they can be applied anywhere, not just at NASA.
Right. Launching a rocket or managing a marketing campaign, it's all connected. Taking these complex concepts from space exploration and finding those nuggets of wisdom that we can apply to our own lives.
Exactly. It's about extracting those universal principles and finding ways to integrate them into what we do, both personally and professionally.
So we've covered a ton of ground already. Organizational structures, power dynamics, leadership theories, even some wisdom from Honda and NASA. It's amazing how it all ties together.
It is, isn't it? It's like we started with those relatable struggles of college group projects.
Right.
And now we're connecting them to these bigger ideas about project management in general.
And throughout it all, we're seeing how communication, adaptability, emotional intelligence, all those things are so important for effective leadership in any project.
Yeah.
But here's the big question.
What's that?
What does this all mean for our listeners? How can they actually take these insights and apply them to their own lives?
Yeah, that's the key, right? It's not just about theory, it's about practical application. And I think a big takeaway here is that these project management principles, they're not just for, formal projects at work.
Right.
They can be applied to anything you're trying to achieve, any goal you're working towards.
It's like adopting that project management mindset and applying it to our personal and professional lives. So instead of feeling overwhelmed by a big goal, we can break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. Think about a goal you've set for yourself recently. It could be anything. Learning a new skill, organizing your home, even planning a vacation.
Okay.
What were the key milestones? What resources did you need? What challenges came up?
I've been trying to learn a new language. And I'll be honest, sometimes it feels super overwhelming.
I can imagine.
But if I apply this project management thinking, maybe I can break it down into smaller steps, Like setting a goal to learn a certain number of new words every week, or focusing on specific grammar concepts.
That's a perfect example. By using those principles, even for things that might seem simple, we can be more organized, more efficient, and ultimately more successful in reaching our goals.
It's like having this secret weapon, a framework for tackling any challenge with more clarity and purpose. And I love how it's all rooted in those human elements: collaboration, adaptability, emotional intelligence. It's not just about, checking boxes on a to-do list.
Right. It's about understanding the people involved, anticipating their needs, and creating an environment where everyone can succeed.
Something that really stuck with me from our earlier conversation was this idea of project leadership as its own distinct type of leadership.
Oh, yeah.
What makes it unique compared to other kinds of leadership?
That's a great question. Well, project leadership is often about temporary things. It has a cross-functional scope, and it's laser-focused on specific goals within a set time frame and budget.
So it's more like a sprint than a marathon.
Yeah.
It has that clear beginning and end, which can create a sense of urgency and focus.
Exactly. And that temporary nature can be both a challenge and a motivator. The team knows they're working towards a shared goal with a deadline, which can foster a sense of camaraderie and purpose.
But it can also be pretty stressful, right? Especially if it's a complex project or the stakes are high.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why strong leadership is so essential in a project context. The leader has to keep everyone on track, rally the troops, make those tough decisions when necessary, and they also need to be able to navigate the cross-functional nature of projects.
Right, that organizational matrix we talked about earlier, bringing people from different departments together, each with their own expertise and priorities.
It's like being a conductor, orchestrating a symphony of different instruments. It takes a unique skill set, communication, diplomacy, negotiation, and a deep understanding of both the technical side of the project and the human dynamics at play.
And then you've got those ever-present constraints of time and budget. It's a constant balancing act.
It is. It takes meticulous planning, smart resource allocation, and the ability to make tough choices when trade-offs are unavoidable. You might have this amazing idea, but if it blows the budget or throws off the timeline, you have to be able to pivot to find a workaround.
It makes you realize that project leadership is about so much more than just managing tasks. It's about making those strategic decisions, navigating complex relationships, inspiring a team to achieve something truly great.
And there's nothing quite like that feeling of accomplishment when you see a project through to completion, knowing you played a key role in making it happen.
Especially when you know the project has made a real impact, right? Whether it's launching a new product, improving a process, or simply making someone's life better.
Exactly. That's what makes project leadership so compelling. It's not just about managing tasks, it's about making a meaningful contribution. So if you're someone who loves a challenge, thrives in collaborative environments, and wants to make a difference, project leadership might be the perfect path for you.
And even if you're not officially a project leader in your current role, these principles are still so valuable. Whether you're managing your own workload, leading a team, or just striving to be more effective in your everyday life, this project management mindset can be a game changer.
Couldn't agree more. It's about taking those nuggets of wisdom we've talked about, from communication to systems thinking, and weaving them into our lives.
So let's do a quick recap of what we've covered so far in this deep dive. We started with those relatable college group project struggles. Then we got into organizational structures, power dynamics, different leadership styles and theories. We even got some insider tips from Honda's lean design approach and NASA's project management playbook.
It's been quite a journey, and I think the biggest takeaway is that effective project management, it's not just about following a set of rules or using a specific methodology. It's about understanding the human side of things, fostering that collaboration, adapting to change, and always striving for excellence.
It's about leadership, communication, and that shared pursuit of a common goal.
And it's a journey that can be incredibly challenging, but also incredibly rewarding.
We've really explored a lot in this deep dive. From those, sometimes chaotic college group projects all the way to NASA and how they manage those complex space missions. It's been a really interesting journey.
It has. We've covered so much ground.
We have. But as we wrap things up, we want to leave you with something to think about, something that'll, inspire you to take action.
Right, because we've talked about all these different leadership skills and traits that are so important for effective project management.
Right.
But we want to challenge you to go a step further, to really take this knowledge and apply it to your own development as a leader.
So here's a question for all of you listening. Of all the skills we've discussed today, which one are you going to focus on developing?
Yeah, think about it. What's that one skill that, if you really honed it, could take your leadership to the next level?
Maybe it's communication, like learning to express your ideas more clearly and persuasively, or becoming a better listener, a more active listener, someone who really tries to understand different perspectives.
Or maybe it's systems thinking, developing that ability to see the big picture and understand how all the different parts of a system are connected and how they influence each other.
Or it could be emotional intelligence. That's a big one. Understanding and managing your own emotions and the emotions of those around you.
Right. It's about building those strong relationships, being able to navigate conflict effectively, and inspiring your team to achieve great things.
So whatever it is for you, choose that one skill, own it, and commit to developing it. Because leadership is a journey, right? It's not a destination. It's all about continuous learning, growth, and self-improvement.
And that journey, it's best taken with a curious mind, a collaborative spirit, and a willingness to embrace those challenges and learn from those inevitable mistakes along the way.
Couldn't agree more. So go out there, embrace the challenge of leadership, and make a positive impact on the world. And that, my friends, wraps up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of project organization and leadership with us.
We sure did. And we encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep into this fascinating world of knowledge.
Until next time,